The more you have invested in something, the less likely it's going to fail. The key is
Key here.
buy more leads. Make
You
the
buy
money
more
from those
leads, you make
yeah,
more money, and you buy
bu-
more leads.
Buy more leads, and when you make money from those leads, what you want to do with that is you buy more leads. And then once you got a bunch of money, you buy a bunch of leads.
Come on, looking. Yeah.
Where the young boys at?
Let the boy walk.
Let the boy watch.
So, pretty good week. Last time we tried to do this podcast.
We gave out too many secrets, so it'll actually stay in the vault for eternity.
I don't think it was too many secrets. I think
Too many secrets to selling.
that was. Oh, okay. Yeah. That was before 75 hard.
Yeah, it was before 75 hard, and maybe the night after. I think I had a few lemonades that night. Just a few.
I think it makes more sense that we're doing it now too, because you've got some actual experience under your belt.
Yeah.
When we were doing it last time, you were like, you hadn't even sold anything yet.
Oh, I sold something. To my dad. Fact.
God rest his soul.
God rest his soul. So the policy the insurance money did cash.
And I would know.
Put myself down as a beneficiary. Did what I had to do to make it in the business.
Hey, Dad, this is super random. What's your social?
He even said, "No, I'm not giving that out over the phone." Couldn't win.
How do I know who you are?
Yeah.
I'm your son.
No, I had sold something by that point because was that what weekend was that? That was Henry's Christmas party. Then I left that following Monday. So I think I had wrote 5 policies. I think 2 of them didn't go through.
Yeah.
And then
Because you started in
two of
End
them were
of-
baby ones, and one was like a normal one.
your actual start date was first day of December, right?
I think December 3rd or 4th,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah. So Chase has been selling insurance with us for
This would be wrapping up week
Month.
6
of actual selling. Because you
of
were
actual sex.
you were like two weeks
Yeah.
on. Why don't you just explain the progression?
Yeah. I did about 2.5 weeks calling through old leads. Still good leads, but just really cutting my teeth and getting all those failures out of the way. And then started my ad campaign 4 weeks ago.
Was it really 4 weeks ago?
Yeah, I've been running it for 4 weeks. And almost when you kind of start it, you almost don't want to start off that first half week just because you're not super busy because you're waiting for the leads to come in.
Yeah. And you're still like, you could dial the old leads, but
Yeah, at that
kinda-
point, it's
you're
like,
kind of onto the new.
yeah.
Yeah, because we gave like how many?
I went through, I think, 1,000 total old leads.
Yeah.
Got 6 beauties out of there.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, dude, what did it teach you though?
It taught me how to get better over the phone, or maybe not better, just more comfortable,
Yeah.
and kind of learn my style. I mean, you watched me when I first started. I obviously was not
Yeah.
a natural on the phone like some people might be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it just allowed me to be comfortable, and then also get into the mindset that we're like the doctor, they're the patient, because we're the agent. They don't know a whole lot about life insurance, so it's more you're walking them through the process.
Yeah, because when you're selling door to door, it's more like you're just trying to get in the house.
Yeah, you're trying to get in the house, and I don't know, how would you describe that? Because like doing this over the phone, especially with veterans, they don't know a whole lot, so you kind of have to educate them. So you're the doctor, they're the patient.
Mm-hmm.
How would you compare that to books where?
Well, it's a lot different because, well, I think with anything that's door to door, because you're knocking on their door, and that's probably the first time they've ever heard of you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, unless you're really good at the Facebook game. But it's not very often that someone's hitting you up on Facebook to come swing by.
Yeah, maybe
That's-
a few times a summer.
Yeah. I don't even know about that, dude. I never really had
Nah.
anybody come swing by.
That's
Tell me to come
BS.
swing
I
by.
followed Roy twice, and both days somebody messaged him on Facebook, and
Yeah.
he just goes and drops a bag. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's that easy.
Tell them about that one story when I had the books come in, the shipment.
Oh yeah, okay. So I'm following Roy, and so before I even get to, I had to drive like 3 hours to follow Roy.
This
We were
is when we were selling books
out in Wisconsin,
in Wisconsin.
and I was going to follow him for the second time that summer. And before I got there, he had sold to a business owner, sold the bag, sold everything. I show up, he's wearing their dairy ice cream shop shirt, and he's like, "Yeah,
It
it's
was
gonna be a great day."
Jason and Justin something. He bought everything at the
Mhm.
ice cream place,
Yeah.
ice cream and burgers. Anyway, when I was demoing his wife, I was like, "You look like you like getting wild."
Oh,
Or
the
not
journey of the
wild.
wild.
Yeah, the thing that TD used to say.
Oh,
I can tell by the look on your face, Trey Severson, you like getting a little bit wild.
yeah, that's right. How'd you know? And so
So
then,
anyway,
back to that day. He sells a bag before I get there. I get there immediately after. He's like, "Gonna be a great day," and then it's up until 6 p.m. And I mean, you got a lot of sit downs, but it just wasn't.
dude, it was a weird day. You know what I was thinking about most of that day?
Oh, that rent situation.
Rent.
Yep, you get charged for rent an extra month, and it kind of
Dude, I was so pissed.
attitude. So, anyways, then he's like on the phone with this guy, and he's got a shipment coming. And I mean, like I learned what I needed to learn. Like Roy doesn't do anything crazy. You just keep it simple, and
Mhm.
that's why he sold so much. And so you would have had to drive. It would have took like 2.5 hours out of your gravy. And I was like, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I was like, hey Roy, if you pay me $100, I'll go unload that shipment and put it in
Which
your storage
honestly is a
unit
pretty good deal.
for you.
No, what are you talking about? You got the shadow, you got all
The
that, you
back
got
pain
all
I
the.
endured.
I should have charged you $1,000 just to come out and watch me
Yeah,
work.
fair enough. And so then I get there, and most people's book shipments, I mean, I would say like 99% of dealers, it's going to be like a pallet, maybe a pallet and a half. They don't stack it up super high, they go
You
like
got to think
halfway.
abundant. You got to think big.
Yeah. And I show up, and there's three full pallets packed to the brim. And I open up his storage unit, and there's just boxes everywhere.
Well,
Like I
dude, you
couldn't
ain't
even
got
move.
time to clean up when you're on the move. Like,
Yeah.
go, go, go.
And
I
so
don't understand these people that would cut up their boxes and place them perfectly and
I
organize
wouldn't do
everything.
that.
Like, I'd keep old diapers in there. I'd
Yeah,
keep,
you did. I actually stole a hat from in there. I never
yeah.
told you that. But
Which one?
it was a white and blue hat. It was like a flat bill. It didn't really fit me right. I have a picture with it.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it would have been lost in those boxes anyways.
So anyway, I go back to pick up Trace, and he's over there, and I give him $100, and he's like, "I should have charged you 200 for him." I was like, "Whoa!"
Took me 2 hours, and I was profusely pouring
I
sweat.
tried to kick my ass, but how'd that end up going?
Yeah, how's your back doing? Are you feeling better, old man? Hey, Jackson, give me that footage.
I like how they cut it off in the video when it looked like I was about to kick your ass and take you down.
I, I don't think I
Nobody,
saw that
I guess
part.
nobody knows.
Oh yeah, right after I took you down, and then you bonked your head.
No, that didn't happen. I don't remember that. But anyway, so the last 4 weeks, dude, pretty good.
Oh yeah, it's been awesome.
From what you thought you signed up for versus now, like how are you feeling? Like what was the emotional roller coaster? I feel like it can be good for, I don't know, any new person getting into insurance or into sales, like the initial. Because one of my thoughts when I left selling books was how much is this actually going to translate into
Mm-hmm.
my next job?
Yeah.
So talk about that.
So that's actually crazy just because, I mean, so I feel like if you've had prior sales experience, especially going door to door, going into a role like insurance or something where you're in an office, I mean, it's just so helpful, especially like my first like 3 weeks. I would just think back to so many times where I would just like, it was just no after no after no. But my mindset is just like, I have a really good, consistent, positive attitude. And
Hmm.
so I would just keep going. And then it would be like 5 p.m., especially when I first started off on my own leads. It'd be like 5 p.m. I didn't sell anything, but I was like, all right, just one more call, one more call.
Hmm.
And then finally would get a deal. And that
Yeah.
happened like three separate times. And I'm like, if I didn't have that prior experience of going door to door, I don't know. Or my attitude would have took a hit where when I called that person, I would have just probably been expecting them to say no or just like
Hmm.
not been able to complete the sale.
Yeah.
But
Because how
since,
many times on the book field did you have a customer after 8 or after
oh,
7?
so many times.
Right. It's like
And
nobody's home all day, and then
yeah,
you hit gravy, and then you sell 50 or 100 units after 8,
yeah,
or more, you
yeah.
know.
And so, yeah, I mean, probably the biggest thing was just being able to learn how to control my attitude when I was going door to door and in
Hmm.
sales. And I feel like that's so powerful. And like when you're doing it, you're like, you can like, okay, this could translate, but you're like, how? And now that
Yeah.
I'm actually doing something that's not selling books or going door to door, it's like every single day. It's
Hmm.
like, because there could be 4 hours where people aren't picking up, or it's just like they're just frankly not interested. And then boom, like three in a row. and like if you let it affect your attitude, you probably wouldn't have got that first one. Then your attitude would have stayed
Yeah.
negative, and so
How much of the job would you say is technical versus
technical.
emotional?
I think it's like 85% emotional and then maybe
Mhm.
15% technical.
Yeah.
I don't know, that felt right. 85
85,
15.
15, yeah.
Yeah. There's a little technical stuff that
Yeah.
goes in on it, but
I've got a theory that you get good at the technical if you're dialed in emotionally,
mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
It's like the technical stuff will come if you have a good attitude.
Yeah. And I mean, you
Because
can,
then you have a desire to actually learn this
yes.
stuff if you're invested in it and you
Yeah,
want to get better, you know?
exactly. I was actually reading the book, Take the Stairs. We're doing the book club.
Yeah.
It's by, is it Adam, or no, Rory Vaden.
Hmm.
It's called the buy-in commitment principle, and it's like the more you have invested in something, the less likely it's gonna fail. And so, like for me, moving from Arizona to Nashville,
Yeah, that's very true.
I had a lot invested in this and not letting it fail. So, I feel like if it's something where I would have just started off just out in Arizona, just in my own room, working remote every single day,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have invested a whole lot. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna try this out, see if it works. I'm hoping it's gonna work.
Hmm.
Um, but when
That
you,
is really true. It kind of seems a little counterintuitive. You think it's like, all right, let's just pace it out, pace it out.
hmm
Because if you want to openly share, like, what's the situation been the last 3 months?
I mean, the past 3 months, like I still had a good summer. Just after graduating college, I got a lot of student loans, credit card bills, and car payment, car insurance, rent. And so bills were just stacking up, and
Yeah.
I was in a financial bind, and it was causing a ton of stress on me. Where I had to make a move and do something,
Hmm.
and so Roy flew me out and I shadowed and I was like, yep, this is what I want to do. So then within 10 days, drove out here to Nashville, left my lease
It was
out there,
quick.
just quit, got out here, tried to get it licensed as fast as possible. It took me about, like, I think 5 weeks to get the whole ball
Hmm.
rolling. Um, and then I was living on your couch for there good.
It'd be a
Good,
great story.
yeah,
It'll be a
good three
great
months.
story.
Oh, it is a great story.
Well, it's
Yeah.
a great story because it's got, this is just the beginning, but I mean, as far as the, like the testament to that commitment, dude, your last 4 weeks have been the best in the office out of everybody. The people that have been here 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years,
Yeah.
which is insane. But at the same time, it's not insane because I don't think anybody's given up or was on the brink of, like, you were met with a choice. You could have
hmm
either gotten bailed out and moved out, maybe moved home or something. I
Yeah.
don't know, something. You
hmm
probably had those thoughts or like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Or you just fight it head on. It's like another story from his book, the buffalo and the cow. Have you guys gotten to that part yet?
Oh yeah, where a cow they'll run with the storm. They see a storm coming, so
Yeah,
they
they
run,
run away from it,
run yeah, run away from it,
and
and
it,
then
and it and it terrorizes them for longer
they go through a lot more pain. And then a buffalo, they'll get up on a ridge or a mountain,
and just go
and
right
then
through it.
yeah, they'll
Yeah.
run down it as fast as they can
Hmm.
to get out of it.
We could talk about numbers. I mean, you've issue paid how much this week, and it's Friday.
Uh, well, yeah. So I've wrote
Written, yeah. Approved business.
approved business. So with today, I guess it would be maybe 28,000. But I did have one canceled. That was about 2,700. So I mean, right around 25.
25, and then we got a little bit tomorrow.
Yeah, a little
So you
bit
got
more.
that. You got that weighted vest, and the what
Mm-hmm.
else did you get?
Monarch subscription.
Who's
Uh,
paying for that?
you are.
Me?
Yeah.
Did you? Was there a contract or anything?
Mm.
Did I? I didn't sign anything, did I?
I mean, aren't you on recording to say your word is your bond, or is that not you? Are you not a man of your word?
Was
Yes
that
or no?
me?
Are you a man of your word? Yes or no?
No.
Well,
No, dude. That's There's people that have been doing this for like years and years, 10 years, 20. Nobody. There's been, dude. That's a great week, and it's not even
yeah.
done. Like,
And to be honest,
what would
with
you attribute that to? I mean,
So,
like,
yeah. So that's
well,
exactly
we're
what
talking
I was gonna
about the
talk about.
skill that you came into this
Yeah.
with, right? You didn't
Oh,
come in with phone sales
yeah.
skill, but you came in with a mindset
Yeah.
skill that a lot of people
And
don't have.
I don't know. So, little backstory with books, I was always super frustrated with why I could never hit the next level. Like I
Mhm.
mean, I did pretty good with books, but I never was great or
Yeah.
like hitting those numbers, like hitting
You'd hit President's Club
Yeah,
and
President's Club, but I never hit Chairman's or more, and it always really frustrated me. Why? Because I'd always work my butt off and always try and get better. But um, what I loved about coming into the office, which I didn't think I was gonna like, or I didn't know that was gonna be beneficial, was, dude, I get to be surrounded by you, Austin Marsh, Logan Merritt, all top salesmen, and it's like once I can see it be done a few times and there's a track there for me to run on, I can do it. Maybe I lack in creativity, but after I see Austin objection handles so much, I'm like, oh, you just say that. And
it's
then
like a math equation.
Yeah, and then it moves the
Yeah.
sale forward. And then a different objection comes up and you handle it. I hear you guys handle it a few times the way you guys do, and then I'm like, oh, you just say that. And
Yeah.
it literally works. And so I think it's more what I would attribute to is just everybody in the office, because everybody in the office I've picked up one or two or multiple things from that have helped me had a great start.
Yeah, and that's a part of it. Somebody could also be plugged into an office like that, have everything going for them, but there's that one thing that's missing.
Yeah.
And I think that one thing is that dog inside of them, you know?
Gotta have that dog in you.
I really think that it'll be a great, I mean, obviously we're on the podcast or whatever, but it'll be a great testimony for new agents coming in. I mean, I've already shared it with, you know, some of the new guys, like, hey, this is what's possible month one, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just the beginning, you know? And, yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, if you total up what you've gotten approved over the past, I'm going to do some quick math.
Past 4 weeks?
Past 4 weeks, let me see. And this is with final expense insurance over the phone. And we do more, you know, we do IULs and term, and now we're doing health products
I've
too.
wrote a few terms.
Couple terms in there.
Couple terms.
And what was the first week? Like 7 or 8?
So I did like 75 my first week.
61.5 in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
There's some people that have been doing this business for 20 years that could dream of a month like that. You know, it's not all issue paid yet.
Yeah.
Obviously, but
even if, I mean, I'll be
ain't.
happy
If it's
half of it goes through. I mean, let's go, dude.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean.
And what's been your ad spend?
So I started off $200 for my first week, and then I just wanted to be a little busier throughout the day, and I finally had some commissions come in where it made sense for me to go up to $250.
So you've been reinvesting back in the business.
Yep. Hey, the key is
Key here.
buy more leads. When you make
You
the
buy
money
more
from those
leads, you make more money, and you buy more leads.
Buy more leads, and when you make money from those leads, what you want to do with that is you buy more leads. All right. And then once you got a bunch of money, you buy a bunch of leads. And you.
So who's the end consumer? You.
I guess.
That's a beautiful system. New agent coming in, like first full month on leads, I would go to say that's the best first month in approval, and it's not even over yet. In a full month, you have 4.5 weeks basically. I'd go to say it's probably the best first month on leads of anybody in the office. We'll see. We'll see if it goes through though. That's them. That's
we'll
them.
see.
What do you call it? The weak units.
Those weak units.
Let's see till it actually hits the leaderboard.
Say some of them are strong. You know, they're coming through. But I mean, dude, just coming in and like the system in place, it literally works so well. Like the leads are amazing. Like
talk about the leads.
The people literally fill out this information where it's like, hey, you call them and they know exactly what you're calling about. And what I love about like selling insurance is with like if you're going door to door selling solar, you're selling books, you're selling pest control, necessarily that's not something people need. I mean, there can be a need for that, but it's not like with insurance. Like people need this because it's protection for their family. So it's almost like over the phone, especially with insurance and going through the application, it's more so just about building trust.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's maybe my strong suit and always been my strong suit is being able to like build trust through just conversation and humanizing myself and not sounding like a salesman.
How do you do that on the phone?
I love cracking jokes. I mean, I learned that selling books. There wasn't a day out there selling books where I probably didn't crack less than 20 jokes a day. Just because everybody knew you meet, they've never heard those jokes before or heard those like one-liners, and they make everybody laugh, and that boosts my attitude. So that's a way for me to keep.
What do you say to the people on the phone?
On the phone, so if they're living out in like Kansas or Texas, I'll be like, and are you still living out there in the great state of Texas? And they're like, sure am.
Yep.
Bill, that doesn't make you a Cowboys fan now, does it? And they're like, oh, yeah, for the past 30 years.
Jerry Jones.
And then I'm like, oh.
Now they're on your team.
Yeah, now they're on my team, yeah. And then if they're like this one's kind of funny, if they're a Chiefs fan, I'll be like, so that doesn't make you a Chiefs fan, does it, Bill? And he's like, yeah, it does. I'm like, Bill, does that make you a Swiftie too? Because Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce. And then I'll be like, Bill, I'll tell you one thing. If Travis Kelce gets down on one knee at Taylor Swift after they three-peat, I'm gonna find the nearest bridge and I'm jumping off it. And just from that point, they're cracking up like you are right now. And
let their guard down, the sales resistance down.
Yeah, just like that within the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, and that's just like on the doors. It's the same mindset as on the doors. If you can get them laughing, you're in. Like, you're at least getting in the house. And if you're giving a presentation and they're laughing, like, they're getting something.
They put that guard down and they submitted the information. So it's like with knocking on doors, it's like they still kind of got that guard up because you did just knock on their door. Mm-hmm. But when they submitted the information, then they can also...
You can backtrack it like, hey, you filled that out this morning. And you've got a timestamp on it. And then it goes into the CRM too, so they got a text too. Like, yeah, you got the text from this, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And also some helpful advice. I mean, this is a little technical, but like my first week or two, you could notice that I was like, I would sit up and I'd be like all hunched over. And like we have our script right there. Yeah. And so I'd just be like, I don't know, maybe kind of nervous.
Like in fight mode?
Yeah, kind of in fight mode, nervous, just making sure I'm doing everything right. Yeah. And what you told me is like, dude, just lean back. Just lean back. And so what I honestly do now most times is I always lean back. Like there's not a point where I'm leaning forward unless I'm like writing stuff down. So I'll lean back.
And you're probably, your inflection's probably just a little bit different. Was that little, just that little bit of, instead of you're like this.
Yeah.
You're just like... It's just like when we were selling books, when you get to the close.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, Trace. And what everybody really likes about the way I do business. You know? Yeah. You're just like leaning on back.
And then you put your feet up on their kitchen table.
Get your checkbook.
Go get your checkbook, Bill.
But, here's a good, if anybody out there is still selling door to door, here's my favorite to do just to keep your attitude up when you knock on somebody's door. Is to go tell them to go grab their checkbook.
Yeah, they're like not interested. Oh, no worries.
No worries.
Just go get your checkbook.
So you feel like that helped cracking jokes? What else?
Cracking jokes, and then
how many hours would you say you averaged every week? You were in at what time? You were out at what time? What did your Saturdays look like?
Yeah, I always get here like right before 9. That's usually right when we start dialing or getting ready for the day, and then. We can leave after 6. I mean, you can leave whenever you want, but we're trying to build a culture, and so.
Well, technically, they can't with that lock on the door on the outside. But we tell them that it makes them feel good. You guys could leave.
We found the keys, so you gotta change the lock.
But I swallowed
it. But yeah, so we can work up till about 6. But consistently, I've usually stayed until 6.
Yeah.
Or 6:30, and then 7.
Tell them what you're really after. Talk about that.
Really after?
Talk about the tournament we got going on.
The tournament. It's called the Golden Diaper Tournament.
The Golden Diaper.
By the time I'm done here, I plan on wearing a golden diaper.
When I was recruiting Trace,
I was kind of wishy-washy.
He was a little wishy-washy.
Roy told me one thing.
Hey, I'm looking at this company. I'm doing investment banking with my uncle over here and over there. My dad's got this. I'm looking at these other insurance and financial services. What did I tell you?
I wasn't on board until Roy said, "Look, Trace."
I actually sat him down right in this office right here. I was on that end. He was on that end.
And he looked across from the desk. He stared deep into my soul and he said, "Trace, look, those other options, they're a great option. But what I can promise you here, and this is a guarantee."
Get your face up to the mic a little bit so they can hear.
Is by the time I'm done with you here, you'll be wearing a golden diaper. I instantly said, I didn't actually spit.
Oh, okay, good.
I lied.
And then I slit his hand open. I cut my hand open. And we shook on it, and then we went out into the woods. And anyway, we'll talk about that later. Next round 2, we'll talk about what actually helps people
after
produce.
round 2.
So people probably want to know like what your deal is. Who's Trace Severson? Where are you from? What's kind of the story? How'd you get into sales? How'd you find yourself in Nashville, Tennessee, slinging insurance?
Insurance. Originally born and raised in Alaska. It's blessed to be raised there. It's beautiful. A lot of beautiful scenery, a lot of wildlife, a lot of good people.
Flocks of meese.
But it's
Trotting around.
Tell you one thing, it's dang cold up there, and I don't like the cold. So
it makes a man tough.
And yeah, you can feel it all the way
makes his
down,
heart cold
all the
and
way
small.
down to your plums. Edit that out. Just kidding, keep it. And then, you know, you know a little bit about my history. Why don't you just tell them about
Trace
Tracy
was
Severson?
born in a tiny little village out in Eskimo, Alaska. And when he was 3 years old, he was adopted
By a pack of wolves.
And he lived out in the forest for about
3 milligrams.
They freaking dude, Zins are like,
Oh my!
I don't know what they're putting in there, man,
dude.
but it makes me antsy.
What? Look at this. Next
That's
thing
all
you know,
they had at the gas station was the
Next-
threes. I wasn't gonna go to another gas
Next
station.
thing you know, he's gonna start telling me you sit down when you pee.
I do. It's just enough to kind of keep you on edge. That was a nice little throw there. Trace was born in a tent, actually, out in Palmer, Alaska.
No, I was conceived in a tent.
Right. Got it. Village of about 20 people. They were all his immediate family. And he was born from a pair of inbred.
Okay, you're done. You're
Okay,
done.
well, you tell him the story.
So I was born and raised in Alaska. And growing up, I loved sports. Like, that was my whole entire life. Baseball was my favorite by far. Grew up playing a lot of football as well.
But it was also your worst sport, right?
No, baseball was definitely my best. Football was maybe my worst sport. But,
Oh. Wrestling was your best sport, right?
I mean, you could say it like that. But I didn't start wrestling until 7th
I was
grade.
just messing with you on baseball being your worst sport.
Yeah.
I've just never seen you actually.
Yeah, wait till we get on that softball team. Man. And then I started wrestling, and I got pretty good grades in school. I only got 1 B throughout my middle school and high school career.
Why is that? Did your parents tell you they were going to put you in a...
No, I just kind of always had this mindset. Like, if I didn't get an A or if I wasn't, like, caught up on my homework, it would stress me out. I would get anxiety.
Really?
Yeah. And
Why?
honestly, I don't know. Maybe just want to make my parents out, and I want to make myself feel good.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I just built the habit from a young age of, like, getting home, getting done with my homework, and then going to baseball, football, or wrestling practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept
You
up
were
with
on
that
the
habit.
you were on the wheel.
On the
You're,
wheel, and I was busy. And end up winning state my senior year at wrestling. And I loved wrestling just because it all depended upon me, not on my teammates. Like in baseball, I was starting shortstop from like freshman to senior year and would pitch a lot, but our team was never super good, and it always pissed me off that we would lose to our rivals year after year after year. And I mean,
Here,
there's
get
always
that mic
more
up to your face a little bit.
more I could have done. But yeah, then I went to school in Arizona. I wanted to go somewhere warm, so got away from Alaska.
And you went to that little prison camp down in
It's
Phoenix.
a Christian campus.
It looks like a prison though. Like when I recruited one kid out of GCU when we were there floating. You were never on campus because you never went to class.
No, that's not true. I mean, GC, you only have class like a Wednesday, Friday if you make your schedule right. And, you know, I had that house off campus. You already know.
Yeah, I know. No, Trace is really smart. He was really good in school.
Maybe not.
But that like that little square, it's just surrounded by a ghetto. And then when you try to get in, there's like a security guard like, what's your business here?
What's your business?
Why do you guys
in our
have
town?
prison guards outside of it?
Because they have.
I saw one kid.
This dude was
in a tower, and one kid tried to leave school early. Literally, the dude shot him in the back.
That's not true. But went to Grand Canyon University. Hey, you see Grand Canyon cracked the top 10. We were number 9 for campuses.
Oh shit.
Yeah, number
For
3
what?
in the U.S. in all of Southwestern.
Oh really?
In units sold. I think we were the number 10 or number 9.
GCU?
Yeah.
Oh, you had Adam Whitty.
Yep. No. Well, I mean, they're I mean, I think Chloe, Connor, McIntyre, Jenna.
Oh, that's right. Connor's down there.
And then since I think Josh, the only person on his team was Kay, I think his units counted towards there. And
Got it.
Jacob Brittingham, because he only recruited Adam Whitty.
Got it.
So, yeah, it was like majority and my units.
That's
went
pretty cool
towards-
because my last year, it was like, or the year before last,
It was really just me
it
and
was
then
you and
Connor. And then,
you, Connor. I feel like there was somebody else.
I mean, somebody else maybe came out. You recruited him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
How would you describe him? What was his name?
Yeah. Anyway, so
I think we're on the same wavelength here,
Yeah.
but we just couldn't say it.
uh-oh. So
Let's just say he didn't make it very far in the summer.
dream diverted. And and then yeah, so Blake Whitty. Oh no, he wasn't. He was done selling. Blake Whitty recruited you though.
I recruited myself, but
You
yeah,
think so?
he was my student leader. I mean, maybe he did. He recruited a bunch of my friends that all were from his hometown,
Tommy
the Goon Squad,
and Carson.
when he had that #1 team.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I was like, man, if these dummies can do it, I can do it. And I
Mhm.
was like, you made how much over the summer? He's like, oh,
You're
yeah.
like, let me see that.
Let me see that. You show me a check for $40,000 in the past month, I quit my job and I work for you.
So then you, what was your book selling experience like?
I mean, it taught me a lot. I'm super grateful for
What
it.
was your purpose going into it?
Uh,
You know, people have these big purposes like,
yeah.
I'm gonna solve world hunger and I'm gonna change my mom's eating habits and I'm gonna.
I'm gonna prove the haters wrong.
Did you
I
have
never.
a little bit of that? Like I want to show it to the man.
I honestly don't think I ever had like a super deep purpose, and maybe that's why I wasn't #1 ever. I was #8 though my first summer, so
That's pretty
not
good.
too shabby. But I just wanted to do something hard that was kind of business orientated, because before that, my summers, it was commercial fishing and working up in the oil field, which are hard jobs and they're really cool experiences. But spending all that money for college, I was like, I'm spending all this money going into a lot of debt to get this degree. What am I going to use it for, or how am I going to get a job after I graduate? So I was like, oh, this seems like a great job to build a lot of skills, would look good on a resume, you know, why people rationalize selling books. It's like, oh, that would look great on a resume. And it was attractive to me that it was, what we got paid was 100% commission. Because it's just like with sports, if you want to be super good, it's all about the work you put into it. And obviously people have different starting points and different talents. But I
It's
was
a
like,
level playing field.
yeah, I was like, I know I could work hard and I could work hard, and I like to have fun. And it
Well, and
seems
you
like a
also
cool
had good turf.
Yeah, good
It's
turf.
just because you had good turf.
Yeah, that's right.
If you would have had that #1 turf, you probably would have gotten #1. But you had
That's
that. You didn't have that number 300 turf, but you had that #8 turf. Pretty
me,
good.
Let me tell you
Solid
one
turf.
thing. You know why you were the #1 for 3 years in a row, or just 2
Uh,
years?
3. Yep.
3.
Well,
#1 American.
Yeah.
Yep. Because
the-
when
for
I
the
followed Roy,
English origin.
let me tell you, when I say the
Rolling
streets
hills, rolling
are
hills.
lined up with those nice places, not
Yeah.
the shabby places.
We're talking the
nice
nice.
ones. They've been built in the past 3
There
years.
was a Vivint sign at every door
Yep.
and solar on every roof.
And they were just lining up the streets.
And a Roy the business and Roy the education man card in every mailbox.
And every time we went to the sheriff, they're like, "Yeah, come on
Come
in.
on in!"
We want a
And
door-to-door
you'd see
sale."
strobe lights and smoke and
Yeah,
one town actually asked me to be mayor.
I believe that.
So I did it. And I sold books to myself.
Was that Clancyville,
That's a power name. But anyway,
or was that the Cole you started?
what's that?
Was that the Cole?
No, that was a different year.
Oh, this was the scheme that you started that one.
That
time.
was that Ponzi scheme. Yeah.
The scheme.
So do you feel
Wait,
like
hey,
you did?
when am I gonna get my $2,000 back?
Anyway, so, so do you feel like you had done harder things before knocking on doors? Because I did. I felt like that was probably the hardest thing that I had to do up until that point.
Yeah, I definitely felt like I did harder things, and to be honest with you, I think I did. Just with commercial fishing, I went out to a village out in Alaska for 2.5 months, and I lived in like a Connex, so I was set netting. So I didn't live on a boat for the summer, but it was out in a rural village out in Alaska where you got to take a bush plane to, multiple.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no internet at all out there. Now there is, obviously, with Elon's Starlink.
Jinx.
And you owe me a soda.
Yeah, we go.
But yeah, so there was no internet. It was 2.5 months out there where basically our schedule was for the fishing. So there's basically two 8-hour periods in a day when you can go fishing. And so how we would fish, it would be set netting. So there'd be like a screw anchor on land. The water's all right here. And then you would go out on little skiffs and screw a screw anchor in out there with like a system where you're doing it all yourself with like leverage and stuff.
And you're on like a little dinghy.
It's called a skiff. It's just like a small boat.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, and then there was a system where you'd pull the net out once the fishing period started. So there'd be 2 8-hour periods in a day. So say one starts at midnight. So you would wake up at about 10:45, eat breakfast, and then go out there and go set up the nets to get pulled out. So that'd take you about 30 to 45 minutes to do all that. And then you would start fishing at midnight, and then you would fish until about 6, 7, or even
Why
8
midnight?
a.m.
The fish just...
Well, no, I'm just making that simple so you can
okay.
understand a day. So you'd fish from about midnight to 8, and then you'd have to take everything down because that's when you're allowed to fish. There's like times. And so then you'd take everything down, you'd go back, you'd eat lunch or whatever, and then you would get, let's say, it would be like a 3-hour nap. Because at that point, it would be like 9, and then you would sleep
till noon.
Yeah, it'd be about 9, and you'd sleep until 2, and then you'd wake up, go set up, and do that. So you'd get consistently like maybe 4 or 5 hours sleep.
7 days a week.
7 days a week for like, I think it was like 37 days straight. And you're working 16 hours, or maybe it was actually like 40 something because I was out there for about 2.5 months.
And what did you do when the 37 days was up?
So before we were just kind of setting up camp, doing a lot of just groundwork.
Did you learn to enjoy it?
No, I never learned to enjoy it. My wrestling coach might see this podcast. I don't know. My experience wasn't super great just because kind of the people I was surrounded with were kind of negative, and I'm like even before I sold books, I was just super positive. I always like making jokes, being happy, and it's kind of one of those things where they would take everything super serious, and you couldn't have any jokes.
You're you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and
it's
you
kind of like the whole
couldn't
thing.
just drink a beer. I'm like, man.
So there was no booze or anything?
No booze.
Why would anybody do that,
Yeah,
John?
I know. Because they told me, a guy in my shoes made $22,000 after taxes the year prior, and I knew you get a commission from how much y'all make, and then it was the year of COVID, so that messed up the fish price. Like it cut it into a third of what it was the summer prior, even though we caught the same.
That was
I only got
2020.
paid like $7,000.
Yeah, I had one buddy go out there and do it, and he didn't. I think he made like the same.
Yeah.
Because people were making like $20,000 apparently before that.
And so maybe it wasn't harder, but it was probably the only time in my life I was ever depressed and like
legit,
just depressed, just counting down the days. I hate this, and maybe not even say depressed, but just like
Down not enjoying,
not enjoying my days.
No light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, just counting down the days until I can go home.
Mm-hmm.
And then selling books was super hard. I guess I didn't cry commercial fishing, but I did cry my first week selling books.
Did you actually?
Yeah. You never cry?
Oh, yeah, dude. For the first 5 weeks.
Yeah.
First 5 weeks, literally. I would see the Liverpool sign, and I would just start bawling. Like, oh, my gosh.
Here, hold on. Where's my phone? Let me pull up that video.
We'll put it on the TV. Put it up. Hey, Jamie, pull that up.
Selling books is pretty hard. Like, after my first summer, I was like, that was cool. I'm glad I did that. I made some good money, but no shot I'm doing that again.
Dude, I don't know. I felt that way I felt that way my first summer for sure. But dude, by the fourth and fifth, I was kind of like, man, I could
jamming.
I could do this in my sleep. You know? Well, I was thinking about it because I'd go back, like, in between my first and second summer, I worked for, like, basically a call center. But it was, like, 4 of us, and we were setting appointments for a company that did, like, they outsourced for, like, roofs and doors and windows and shit like that. And dude, that was draining. That was, like, 800 call or whatever, 400 or 500 calls or whatever, and it's not like somebody inquired about it. It's like we're
Yeah.
like, hey, we've got this, blah 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 blah.
Cold
And like it
calling
was
at its
still
finest.
fun, and like you can make anything fun.
Yeah.
But being out on the doors, meeting with families in their houses, that's fun.
Yeah.
When you're knocking on doors and you spend most of the day outside, that's not fun. But when you're spending most of the day inside, that is fun. Like the
Yeah.
feeling of 9:30 on a Saturday when you've hit your goals that week
Mhm.
and you go home and eat a pizza with the guys,
Oh yeah.
nothing better.
Yeah. There's nothing better than that drive home from the summer. Just like, man, I really did that, and
Yeah.
nothing. There's no better feeling than knowing you left it all out there. And honestly, that's the feeling I've had just throughout my first few weeks, especially starting to see like results
Yeah.
and the payoff. Even when I was just calling through and like, just cutting my teeth, I always felt really good at the end of the day. And I've always been like excited to come into the office the next day and get better, and then also just like go to work. It doesn't even feel like work just because selling books, I mean, selling books was definitely, I would say it was took a lot more out of me, and it's a lot more nerve wracking. Like beginning of the day, you get that little pit in your stomach. I always got that every single day, and I don't know where I was going with that. Fair does.
Yeah, I understand that. Would you say to people like I remember thinking in my head like, man, well, I don't know if I ever want to work in an office.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to be at like an office
a
desk.
Yeah. I've waited.
I don't want to be a desk jockey the rest of my life. you know?
Yeah. I wish we could move these cameras because I've actually waited 24 years to this day to have my very own cubicle in about 3 weeks. My dream came true. But yeah, no, honestly, I never like envisioned, or well, maybe early age, like beginning of college, but then after selling books, I was like, I don't know if I can ever just sit in an office all day. Like that doesn't sound fun. But what I've liked about like selling books and like telesales, doing insurance over the phone, is that stuff. It like stimulates my mind where it's not like busy work, and it's like I might get frustrated and things will frustrate me, but I'm never bored. And I've never been bored going door to door. And I'm sure every single day there was at one point when I was frustrated,
Yeah, but you're never bored.
but never bored. It's like it's hard because you always have to be there mentally, or you're not going to get any results. And you have to be with people the whole time, and you have to be like actively thinking the whole time. Compared to like, I don't know, I always hated school, like doing like PowerPoints or writing essays, like that's just not for me. Or like typing up a long email and all this other stuff.
Did you say you're ADD? Like you got a little ADHD? You know,
I don't think
apparently
so.
a lot of really good salespeople have like attention deficit. Like not to but here's the thing. They're
Maybe I
incredibly
do.
that means you're incredibly focused with things that interest you though.
Yeah.
But not focused at all on things that are
Yeah.
not interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, if you know me, you probably wouldn't think this, but like growing up, I was super good at math, and I loved math because there was always an equation, and there was a way to solve the equation, and
Yeah.
it gave me satisfaction to figure out how fast I could solve that problem and do it accurately. And
Instead
I like
of
that.
art or like an essay where there's
you
no
gotta be
clear
creative. There's
yeah.
no. It's just like
But you're a pretty creative dude, which is kind of funny too.
I can be creative
With like comedy and things like that
yeah,
because you like
jokes.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But like writing a paper or like, hey, type up a 200 word on like your purpose. I'm like, man, I gotta think about this. It's like, or call people for 10 hours a day. I'd much rather spend a day just calling people 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
And so I find that really stimulating for myself. And I mean, being in the office, dude. I mean, we got like
Surrounded by
nine
the
guys,
guys, yeah.
9 guys, and dude, I love everybody in the office. Everybody's awesome. You can make jokes with everybody, and when you're out there like just going door to door by yourself, sometimes it could be like hard to. I mean, I was always disciplined, but it would be hard to stay motivated. But being in an office and like,
You can make
motivation's-
anything awesome. You can make anything sound like it sucks.
Yeah.
Like you can make any job sound like it's the coolest thing on the planet and that it's very specific and very, super sexy and all this stuff. You can also make every single job sound like it's the worst thing on the planet. It all just
It's
comes
like
down to your mindset.
If we told somebody, oh yeah, what we do is we just call people on the phone for 10 hours a day and see if they
And
want
get
some
them
life
insurance, yeah.
Yeah. And people are like, oh, that doesn't sound
Or like,
enjoyable.
yeah, I would knock on like 100 doors every day and for 14 hours a day and try to sell them books.
Yeah.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
But if you're like, yeah, it was cool. Like I got to sit down with families and talk about education with the families and like get to know people and blah, 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 and get to know how people work and their dynamic. Yeah. That sounds way cooler.
And it's like what is it? Perceptions is your lens, or lens is your perception? Is it one of those? Or is
I don't know.
It's like
perception's your reality.
Yeah, perception's your reality, and like I get to go meet 100 new people today. Who knows who I'm gonna meet? But it was always fun for me.
Yeah, exactly. Here's what pisses me off. What pisses me off is anybody putting anything that they can control in a box and putting it up in a nice little bow and being like, that's what that thing is. Like, for example, like, it's like, okay, your situation currently, you're in a cubicle in an office dialing, blah, 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 blah. Could that change over the next year? Yeah. It's like if I hit these metrics, if I hit these numbers or whatever, I can just get my own office, or I can have my own place, or I can, I'm so good at this now that I'm going to peace out and I'm going to go do it over here or whatever. It's like, you can always change your scenario. You could throw in doing some in-person stuff if you like doing in-person stuff. There's ways of doing that. You could also do that and pair it with telesales. Like there's a bunch of different ways that you could do the job. So whenever anyone's like, so do you just like sit in an office all day and like make calls? And it's just like, you can make anything sound sucky.
Yeah.
But not seeing like I don't know. I think it's really hard for some people to see like a personal vision outside of just the job.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. You know what really, like what truly sucks is when you have no control over it. Like for example, the beauty of our job is we're straight commission and we buy our leads and we call them and blah, blah, blah. Do you have to be in this office to do it?
No.
But it makes sense for now because you have the coaching and training and everything's like immediate, But we're going to grow out of this thing. And then we'll grow out of that next thing. And then some people are going to move and start up their own agency over here. Some people are going to go and work from home. Or some people are going to want to do in-person stuff, It's like there's a million different ways. But it's kind of like, the summer's like a boot camp. Like this too is like a hub. It's like a boot camp for insurance. It's like, you want to learn how to sell insurance? Would you rather want to do it from home all by yourself on a Zoom all day?
Yeah.
Or would you want to have somebody right there that can literally walk you through everything step by step, or listen to their calls? It's very helpful doing it on Zoom. But I think just like anything, if you're in it and you can feel it.
Surrounded by it.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my rant.
And I feel like what helped me get off to a fast start is literally just coming into the office every single day and just like picking up something new every single day and just being surrounded by it every single day. And it's just like, it gets solidified in your mind that it works. And also you just learn so much by hearing other people and the questions they ask. Like, I think it was my second week on leads. It was like, I mean, I was doing pretty good that day. Like, I think I had sold one policy earlier in the day. And then Logan Rouse was talking to Tyler, and he's like, yeah, dude, I watched this video, watched this podcast, this YouTube video. And he's like, when they're like, I guess, what makes you think you need more life insurance? And I was like, wow, that's a really good question. And I was just like overhearing their conversation. Literally the next prospect I hopped on the phone with asked him that question, and then they just blah, 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 blah.
That's a nugget. Say that again.
What makes you think you need more life insurance? And then they'll sell you on why they need it.
Because then their guard's down.
Yeah, their guard's genius. Down. And so when you ask that, they'll give you so many reasons on why they need more life insurance, so they're selling themselves. So, I mean, if I didn't ask that question, would they still have went through with the life insurance? Maybe not. Yeah. But, I mean, I asked that. They ended up going through with it. And then literally the next phone call, I did the same thing. And
dude, I think
every single time.
Yeah, that is genius. And just being surrounded by the people. I think that analogy, though, of like, okay, if you use these words and these different tactics, do they work? It's kind of like when we had sales school. Sales school is not for the managers for the most part. Sales school is not even for like some of the first years, really. Yeah. Apparently, this is the way it was broken down. I think this is genius, and if it's true or not or whatever, but I'm going to put my hook into it. Like sales school, there's 100% of people, right? Sales school is not for the top 20%. And it's really to weed out the bottom 20%. and it's really for that middle 60% that could go this way or they could go that way.
Yeah, and trying to get as many of them on this
On
side.
that side, yeah. And
Yeah.
kind of like with like those little things, those little questions. Would that person have bought insurance either way? Well, probably 50% would have bought it either way.
Yeah.
And then you're going to weed out 25% of people by asking them that, because then they're like, well, maybe I don't. And then they don't,
Yeah.
then they don't bang on you during social when you ask for the social or you try to
Yeah.
actually ask for the sale. But that 25%, it probably moves the needle. Like,
Mm-hmm.
at least that's my thought. I don't know.
Yeah. And I feel like kind of how I've looked at it so far is like I'm just trying to see how far I can move like my job is literally just to move the sale forward as much as possible with each single person. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is like the more people I can move closer to a yes or move that sale forward, the better I get at moving people towards a sale or a
goal.
yes.
Like, why'd you fill it out?
Yeah. And so I feel like that's our job, just walking them through the process.
And
like,
some people go off the trail over here, and then a lot of them will stick on it,
Yeah.
if you guide them through. It's like that video that you were watching on YouTube, or I think we were both watching it. I caught a little bit of it, where the guy says, he's talking about moving the sale forward, and he said, what do professionals do? When you go to your doctor,
mm-hmm.
ultimately they have a treatment, and they move you forward to the next thing. They don't say, well, Trace, what do you think? What medication do you think you should take? They're like, hey, this is the prescription. You should take it this many times this week. Hey, let me know when you need a refill, you know, instead of it being like, well, do you want to take a prescription or,
I really know.
Just that confidence of,
Yeah.
And at the end of the day too, they filled it out for a reason.
Yeah.
There's a point in time. And it's kind of like in Og Mandino's Greatest Salesman, where he says like, this customer that wouldn't have bought, I forget which chapter it's in or whatever scroll it's in, but it's like the emotions of the clients. One day you catch them and they're pissed off at you and they say, get off my property. And then the next year, another person might have swung by and they would have bought from them just because the moods that they were in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like when they filled it out, they were obviously in the mood of, I want to help protect the family. I want to make sure I've got something. But sometimes you catch them at a bad time.
I think I may have mentioned this already, but like my first week when you were shadowing me a little bit, you're just like, you just kept telling me over and over, like, hey, you're the doctor, they're the patient, you got to come from authority. So, I was watching.
Oh, that's very different. Yeah.
Than selling books is like, so I was watching this Instagram reel. It was a clip of Andy Elliott, and he was training a guy, and a guy asked him, like, would you want to do that? And then Andy says some stuff, and it sounds really good, but it's not really about the words. It's how you convey it and how your tone, like how confident you are saying it. So with like, when you're like, there's some point where you need to go one route, you're just like, hey, let's do this. Hey, let me give you a recommendation.
Yeah.
And then you'd be like, yeah, in my experience working with veterans, usually they've found this helpful. So let's do that.
Yeah.
And then that, just like the recommendation, because like you said, we're the doctor.
I mean, that's a great reminder for me too. I mean, you learn and then relearn and lose it and then have to relearn it. Yeah. I could definitely work on that.
It's because there's probably been like 4 people this week where kind of drop the price and the packages, and then they're like, oh, let me think about it, or I need to talk to my wife, and then like, or they give me some objection. I'm like, hey, Bill, do you mind if I give you a recommendation?
Say that one more time, closer to the mic.
Hey, Bill, do you mind if I just give you a recommendation? And then they're like, yeah, please. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, Bill, I guess in my experience, I'd say, yeah, Bill, I guess in this situation, what a lot of veterans have found helpful, or a lot of families have found helpful, is what I would hate for you to do is think about this for a couple weeks, go talk to your wife, you come back to me, and then it ends up you wouldn't actually get approved for the coverage. Mm-hmm. So I guess, would it be helpful if we saw if you at least got qualified for the coverage? That way it would actually give you something concrete to talk about with Lisa when you guys have the time.
You've probably said that a million times.
Million times. And they're like, yeah, that would be helpful. And then they're with me.
Great.
And
what's
then,
your date of birth?
Date of birth, you go into it. Oh, and like, okay, this is like super technical with our job, but like when you're going like, okay, and the next part here, Roy, is where they're going to run your MIB report. And you said your zip code was 764956. And you're like, yeah. And then your date of birth is August 6th, 1947. They're like, yeah. I always throw in the email you send our office. So I'll go to our spreadsheet, find their email, and I'll just confirm. and then it plants, and then I'm like,
You
okay,
sent
and
our
Bill,
office, yeah.
what's your social? And I literally haven't got a social objection at all this week.
Yeah, because it's giving you a place of like authority and profession.
Yeah, and it reminds them
Professional.
that they sent this information into our office. This isn't just some random person
That's
calling them.
Yeah.
They put the inquiry in for this information.
100%. Yep.
And then I'll just remind them. I'll be like,
Again, it's those little things like they might have bought either way or given you a social either way, but it's going to get those one or two people that you wouldn't have, you know.
And then if they like, say you get farther into the process and they throw another objection, you just remind them like, hey, Bill, you sent this information into us. Because it would still be helpful if you qualified for the coverage, right? And they're, yeah, it would be. And be like, yeah, this is just part of the process. So if you want to see if you qualify for the coverage,
doing my job.
I'm just doing my job, and this is just part of the process. And sometimes they just need to be reminded of that. And so many times with like the account number at the end, they're like, oh, I don't give that information out the phone. And then you just kind of explain to them that there's not a whole lot, even if I had people's routing and account numbers, there's not a whole lot of illegal stuff I could do. That probably shouldn't be in there, but like,
I mean, that's what we take. I mean, you take business, you take account and routing numbers, you know, and people are a little bit sketched out. But if you send them, you know, whatever your state license, if they sent in the info and everything like that, it's a lot different than
and
the other way.
then like also like when they get like kind of sketched out, they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to give that information out over the phone. I'll be like, yeah, Roy, I mean, I totally understand, and honestly, that's probably pretty smart, just because there are a lot of scams out there nowadays. Here, let's do this. Here, pick up this FaceTime. If they have the iPhone, FaceTime them, and then you just it's helpful for a lot of veterans or families to put a voice to a face
to a name,
face to a voice, and then I'll be like, yeah, just here's me in my office. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send you over my license, and it's like just like authority. Like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and then
would it be helpful if I sent you over my license? I'm going to go ahead and send you over my license. That way you got it. Yeah, it's just the little tweaks. It's kind of like when we were first starting with telesales, one thing Logan Merritt was telling us, like technical coaching from solar, and you find this with professionals, is the downtone. Not the uptone. The downtone. Hey, my name's Roy with X, Y, and Z. You know, whatever. But if you end everything on a downtone, it's very helpful. Like everything that you just said, other than like would it be helpful if we at least got to see if you qualified for the coverage? You know, I guess that doesn't end on a downtone, but when you're saying things like, so it's day one coverage, meaning that once you're, you know, it's like it's not like, so it's day one coverage, you know, that doesn't sound as professional or as certain, you know, when you're certain, you're the professional. When you're uncertain, you're the dabbler, you know?
And it's funny, over the phone, I'll still talk with my hands, even though they can't see my hands.
You're actually like really.
Because it's been helpful for me. So like when I'm trying to end on a downtone, and be like, so once I understand a little bit more about your situation, then we'll figure out which one makes the most sense. Okay? It's not like, okay.
Okay.
And I'll literally go like, okay, with my hand. I'll go like that.
Yeah, go like that. Even
and
though
just
they're
so
not
I'm
there.
like emphasizing, I'm going down.
There's so much with the psychology of it if you're literally doing it. Like, I mean, dude, there's been plenty of times where I'm on the phone and everybody goes through this once they hit like a certain level of, you know, they've been doing the job for a while, they're doing pretty well and blah, 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 where you forget that stuff. Then you're like, why am I not closing as many deals as I was? You'll have your ups and down weeks and days. And sometimes you just realize it's like, oh, it's because I've been a stiff board. I've been, you know, I've memorized the script too well, or now I'm thinking about other things while I'm saying the words. Like we've all been in houses over the summer where, or at least I know we have, where it's like you're literally saying the sales script and thinking about like four other things at the same time. And sometimes they still buy from you just because it's like it's so damn ingrained in your brain, you know, which is nuts.
Yeah, it's funny. My first summer, I remember the first time where I was like saying the sales talk, and I was like, oh, holy smokes, I'm thinking about something completely different. And all these words are just coming out of my mouth like perfectly. I was like, wow, this is kind of cool.
This is wild. It's like a magic trick. Hey, you want to see a bar trick?
And I'm just rattling off the sales talk word for word, and I'm just thinking, I'm like, man, what am I going to eat when I get home?
I'll probably put a little bit of mustard on that sucker.
And
so anyway, what everybody likes about the way I do business,
you're just thinking about second nature. So, I mean, that's a good thing that you can recite that, but you also got to keep yourself in check and make sure you're there mentally. Anywho.
we got some questions lined up from some viewers here. We've got Mike from Virginia.
Mike from Virginia. Mike, what do you got to say?
Well, Mike from Virginia is asking, Trace, how do you put your pants on in the morning?
Pants on in the morning? I got one word for you. 2 words.
Mm-hmm.
I jump.
There you go. Okay. Christina from Florida.
Christina, you sound hot.
She said, Trace, never mind. Scratch that one out. Bill from West Virginia is asking if he can get coverage, and he's 97 years old.
97 years old. Well, Bill, I hate to break it to you, Bill, but I looked over all our options here, and it looks like the last year you could have qualified for some life insurance was at the age 89.
All right.
Does the VA go up to 97? Their rates are probably astronomical.
I don't know. Dream deferred.
But yeah, Bill, I don't even know if we can help you out. Yeah,
I don't even know. I don't even know
I would
why.
have to know a little bit more about your situation. And then from there, we'll see if we
I guess I'd ask you this, Bill. Why would you even need life insurance?
Why would you even need more? What makes you think you need? I guess why'd you pick $30,000?
It's like some guy goes into a hospital and he's got a gunshot right in his chest, and then the doctor's like, "What makes you even think you need surgery?"
Well, Doc, I got a hole in my chest.
Oh,
I think something I wanted to talk about is like, I don't know, like after I sold books for a while, I was like, I don't know if I could ever like just sit in an office and go over the phone, because I like the face-to-face aspect.
Oh yeah.
Where I can talk with my body and they can kind of feel my excitement and my enthusiasm. And over the phone, I felt like I was going to lose all that. But honestly, over the phone, it's like over the phone, I feel like it's literally the same, and it's all about your tone.
You feel like you kind of know them, or you can kind of picture what they look like a little bit too when you talk to them on the phone.
Yeah.
Or their personality type just from their voice inflection after a while.
Yeah, and I guess I never thought, just in my mind, like I wanted to get into like med sales or something like that where I'm going face to face with people, because I thought I would be a lot better than that than going over the phone.
Right.
But just going over the phone, I mean, I don't know where I was going. I'm trying to say
what's funny about all of it? All of it. Like, at the end of the day, here's my theory, is like, whatever job you're in, like, everything sounds cool. Or like, man, I wish I could have that. Or, man, I wish I could work in that turf. Or, man, I'd love to talk to that type of person. Or, I'd love to do blah, 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 blah. After a certain period of time, that becomes boring.
Yeah.
Or standard. And then you want to do something else or something new, which I think is so funny.
Yeah.
Not to like kill anybody's dreams or whatever. It's like if you want to go and you want to do this or you want to talk to that type of person or whatever, it's like some people like are like, I can only do face to face. It's like, okay, well, that's a constriction you're going to put on your life forever, which is okay if you want to keep doing face to face, but you'll never be able to teach anybody how to do. Well, I guess that's if you want to be like a sales leader and recruiter and all that stuff. But I don't know why people. I guess I get it. I do it too.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because like that, it could be any career. It doesn't have to be insurance. I mean, we could be selling anything. We're probably going to do pretty good at it. But even if we did do anything else, at a certain point, then it's like, oh man, I wish I could just work from anywhere and do it over the phone.
Yeah.
And then you do it over the phone. And you're like, man, I wish I was in an office. And then some days you're like, man, I wish I was just at home and doing this from my own home office.
Yeah.
Or man, I wish, it's just like, it's always like, I don't want to be here doing, At a certain point with everything, it just becomes kind of standard or, you get used to it,
And I feel like in person, one thing that like frustrated me a lot about like going in person or going door to door is I would always get anxious like going to callbacks because, the callback ratio that they're actually still want to pick up where they left off or they'll actually pick up the door is I don't know the rate, but then I would get anxious going to callbacks. I'm like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen, and I'd almost rather just go to a fresh door because I don't want to waste that time of going to that callback and then them not showing up or not picking up the door even though they're home, and then like just hurt your attitude a little bit. And like over the phone, I still catch myself sometimes being a little anxious, but it's so easy because you just dial their number. They don't pick up 2-3 times. Okay, the next one.
Yeah.
And so I love the efficiency of I can literally talk to however many prospects I want to. I literally just got to pick up the phone and call them.
Yeah.
And it's that easy. I literally just have a list in front of me, and I just go through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a big thing. Just time wasters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not out there in the field. What else did you want to talk about? Was there anything you came into this like, I want to talk about that, or I wish people knew this, or what's one thing you probably wouldn't have been able to talk about? Well, dude, we probably would have had and we did kind of have a totally different conversation when we ran this the first time. Didn't pick up the audio, but you know what I mean? You having like 4 really successful weeks in your first real 4 weeks, you know, you probably come into it with like, you have value to bring in this particular space. Obviously you had value to bring from your experiences inside of sales and outside, but
I guess honestly, probably the biggest thing, and it's super simple, is like you said, just having that dog in you and literally just going to work. And not like the first 3 weeks, the first 3 months is not caring about the results. Like obviously I want to hit my goals and all that, but priority number 1 is just cutting your teeth and getting better every single day. And I felt like every single day I came into the office, like my first day you heard me, I was not good on the phone. Like I'm not a natural, and like I was sometimes monotone, or like just like didn't have that authority figure.
Just like everybody, a little robotic, you know?
Yeah. And it's just because my first day I literally called through like 200. I made 250 dials, and like I think
on
like
75 leads or something.
Yeah. And then like I said maybe like 20 of them picked up, and maybe 4 of them let me go through the quotes presentation.
Yeah.
And it was just, I literally just every day I was just calling as many people as I could, and literally just every single time getting a little bit better, and like just knowing that if I put in the work now, that hopefully, and I will down the line, be figured out. And so I just wanted to figure out as fast as possible. And also I feel like sometimes, especially with like door to door, sometimes you can put in a ton of work, but if you're not actively trying to get better and trying new things or trying to learn more, that you're not going to see that results increase. Like you're not going to hit those goals, because while you're working really hard, you also need to be actively thinking of what you can do better and having a focus. And I feel like maybe with books, just because they're long days out there, maybe I wasn't always super focused on pushing myself in that aspect of learning new skills and learning new ways to be better, because I would find something that worked and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go do that. And then
yeah, that makes sense. And you've also got like you said before, other people constantly around you.
Yeah.
That feedback loop is just constant. Hey, don't say that. Hey, try this, you know.
Yeah. I don't know, because I feel like maybe not a lot of people, but some people are like me, like where they sold books for a few summers. And it's like, okay, well, I know I work really hard and I know I can talk to people, and I feel like I ask pretty good questions. Why am I not hitting Chairman's Club? Why am I not hitting more? And that really would frustrate me, because I would want to be up there on the pace setter, but I could just...
Oh, that's what I was going to... Yeah, sorry, finish that. And then
I was never going to be... I was just never up there with the top dogs. Like, I was always middle of the pack, always putting up consistent numbers, but it would really piss me off that it still pisses me off that I never hit Chairman's or never hit more when multiple people are doing it. And I feel like if they can do it, why can't I do it? And you go watch them sell for just about a day, and a lot of that... you like take some good notes, but then like you go back out on the field and
you just do the same thing that you were doing before.
You just do the same thing over that you would do before. And like here, when you're surrounded by it during the day, if I have like a question, be like, where did I lose him on this? And then they literally heard the whole conversation, the whole sales call, and they would just give me a little advice. Like, Logan, like I probably pissed off people in the office because I've asked so many questions just about so many different situations, and just figuring out on what the best
way to do it is.
Yeah. And so
I think success can be like cancer in your next career. Maybe not cancer, but it can be like a
spread like a disease.
Well, success, like if you see yourself as like, I hit the pinnacle of that industry, or I was the best at X, Y, and Z. I think some people going into the next career have a hard time motivating themselves because they're like, well, I already kind of did it.
Yeah.
And I already felt success. So I think that actually played into your advantage. And I think another thing that played into your advantage that we were talking about at the beginning is literally your back is against the wall.
Yeah.
And so, like, not figuratively, like,
Yeah.
you had bills to pay.
Yeah.
And I think that that's another thing that you can manufacture, but it's a lot better when it's real.
Yeah. And I mean, nobody wants to be in that position where they got bills due and they don't have money to pay for it. Like, trust me, it was not a fun time in my
You think
life.
you'll ever feel that again?
No. I mean, maybe in like a ways to perform, and once I have a family and like got a mortgage to keep up with, and
Maybe
like
taxes,
to
gotta
keep
fight a tax bill or something.
keep up with my lifestyle, but not like that. Just because I mean,
You know, you can go on and hop on a phone call
Yeah.
and make
and
money.
like yeah. So that's brought a lot of peace to me. That like if I just keep this up, I won't ever have to feel like I'm absolutely broke again.
It's a great feeling.
And yeah, it's not a fun feeling to feel absolutely broke and no way to.
So you think it was more for me, what's worked for me in, especially with anything, well, I guess anything in sales or whatever,
Yeah.
what always works for me is the negative more than the positive. Like the positive, like hitting that number and getting that award and getting that recognition, that works for like a little bit. But what more so helps is when it's like, if you don't hit that, then
Yeah.
people, or this is going to happen, that's negative,
Yeah.
you know, or
And
whatever.
that's probably a way better, more
Motivator.
motivating factor than like, oh, I want all this recognition, I want all this money, but like if I don't hit this, I'm gonna have to move back home with my parents, and I know I have the skill set to where I shouldn't be at this point in my life. So I think it was a factors of two things that helped me get off to a good start. It was the like the financial stress, and this was back up against the wall. Like I got to figure this out. And then also like with selling books, I mean like I did good, but I was never the best or like number one or just absolutely killing it. And so I felt like coming into it, I had something to prove in like both kind of avenues.
Oh yeah.
And so I felt like that was really helpful for me. And that's not easy to manufacture in somebody that's just kind of like, it's almost like situational.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
I think there's a part of it that, you know, sticks with you forever though.
Yeah. Like, I don't think in 2 months when I have a good amount of money in my bank account, this is just going to stop. Like, it's always how
There's always the potential for it to stop, but
yeah, I won't let it stop me. But yeah, I guess.
you know what I mean though, but you'll probably hang on to that feeling for a long time. Yeah, I feel like people hang on to that feeling for a while. Even after they're successful, they'll always have a little bit of that, like, they'll wake up in the morning and not really have any real issues, but it's like that they remember when there was a problem.
Yeah.
You know?
And so I'm doing 75 hard right now, and I was reading
Yeah.
a book by, what's his name? Andy
Frisella.
Priscilla. No, it was actually, was it him or somebody else?
You feel like that's also helped you these past couple weeks, like really dialing in is doing that?
Yeah, I guess being on a super good schedule and just always staying super busy. It's definitely motivating, and I have goals to hit while I'm doing 75 hard. Like, I want to make $50,000 in profit over the 75 days and get my six-pack back and read 10 books, 2 books in.
Oh, yeah.
But no, it was somebody, or like a lot of successful people, they grew up dirt poor, where they were always like they had to work to put food on the table. And I didn't grow up dirt poor, but
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Rory Vaden, or maybe it was Andy Priscilla. But no, it was Jeremy Minor. Jeremy Minor. He's a sales trainer. He used to sell, I don't know what he sold, but he's a big-time sales trainer. He grew up in Missouri, and his family is just his mom, and they were like dirt poor. And at the age of like 13, he was like, this sucks. Like, I don't ever want my life to be like this. So once he turned like 19, he got into sales, and he got exposed to how much money you can make. And if you keep up with that, the success track you can go on. And he's like, that's always been a motivator for him.
Yeah.
So I was kind of
Because of that feeling that he had when he was dirt poor.
And so maybe like,
Because I can't say that for my situation. Like, my dad was a great provider, you know, and there's other things that you can use to motivate you. But it seems like 80% of the people that are real successful came from nothing.
yeah.
It seems that way, at least. But then again, there's some people that it's like, well, they're raised in a real good family and given good opportunity and whatever. I'd say more people that are successful probably came from good opportunity, but more people that are extremely effing successful came from the dirt than from a good family
Yeah.
situation.
And I did not come from the dirt, but I was
Came from the
saying,
mean streets of Palmer.
you get one chance.
But you
at
guys
life.
weren't like loaded, you
Yeah.
guys weren't going on Europe trips every
Yeah,
year and shit like that, right?
Oh yeah, you get one chance at life, and you're born in Alaska, and you're basically screwed. No, I'm just kidding. But what was I gonna say? So I feel like maybe me coming into this like broke and having a lot of financial stress, where I'm behind on bills and all that. That's maybe or hopefully something that sticks with me for the rest of my life, where it's like that's a motivator, and obviously just discipline creates motivation, and building those habits.
Yeah, it's good to share that stuff because sometimes from the outside looking in, you look at anybody's social media or whatever, and it seems like everybody's doing pretty good.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they're probably doing pretty good. They're doing pretty good.
Like
there have been times where dude, before the summers where I blew everything or whatever, and I'm
blackjack table.
Yeah, blackjack. There have been times, and I'd go into the summer like summer 3, no money, summer 4, no money. Kind of figured it out after like summer 4 and 5. Like I probably should save some of this money. That'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
But there's a different level when you're never gonna ask, like you're never gonna move back in with mom and dad.
Yeah.
And that's not even an option, although it could be.
Yeah.
Which is the nice part, but it's not an option.
Yeah, that was never a viable option for me. It could be, but yeah, no, I was never gonna do that. And kind of like you said, like,
and it sucks to have any, like, it just sucks to have a connection from the financial umbilical cord from the parents. Like, everybody's gone through it. Everybody's like taking money. Well, maybe not everybody, but I mean, when I was in high school, my senior year, my parents lived up in Michigan and I lived in Kansas, and my mom would just load up the debit card while I was down in Kansas, and it was awesome until, once you hit like 18. Once you hit 18, you're like a grown-ass man,
Yeah.
Kind of. Not really, but kind of. And if somebody's still paying for the stuff, it's like the honest truth is they have control over you.
Yeah.
And so the sooner that you get off the bill or off the pay stack, the sooner that you'll actually have a better relationship with them and figure your own shit out.
Yeah. And like you said, like, social media is such a facade because, like, it's like, I'm not proud to say it, but like I lived on your couch for the past 3 months, and like you look at my social media or anything like that, you're not gonna know I'm living on your couch.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily didn't want people to know that, and now it's gonna be a great story. And
dude, I lived on I lived on a mattress. I was 20. I first moved out to Denver. I was 20, about to turn 21. I lived on a mattress in the middle of the living room. And I would joke when people would come in and be like, dude, is that serious? Like, my buddies came and visited from Kansas, and I'm like, one of my two good friends, and they're like, dude, that's wild. And I'm like, yeah, I got the biggest room in the house, man. I got the kitchen right there. I got my own kitchen. I got my own TV. But on the inside, I'm like, this will never effing happen. I will never live on a mattress in the middle. But it's a funny story now. But like literally, I have videos and pictures, and like months I'm living on this mattress until one of the guys moved out, and then I moved into his room, which still was nothing special at all. And it's good though, dude. And dude, and I fucking loved it. Like, you're in it,
Oh yeah, man. I mean, like, honestly, I didn't mind living on your couch. Like, I'm pretty low maintenance, and I knew it was
I had a good time. We had a good time.
Yeah,
that was
and
fun.
I knew it would be a great story, but like it's kind of like people, if you explain your situation to somebody who doesn't know you, and then they kind of, I guess I would perceive that people would, oh, this guy's a failure. He's living on somebody's couch, and like that pisses me off. Like I want, because I know I will be successful, and maybe right now my situation's not the greatest. It's not ideal, but I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah. Everybody, if you don't have a story like that, man, like there's Layla and Alex Hormozy where they have this I don't know what you would call it,
the community,
a saying or.
Oh, are you talking about when Alex Hormozy talks about like when he was like sleeping on the gym?
Yeah, he was sleeping on the gym. Well, he was sleeping at the gym, and everybody would come in and cheer for him when he was at the gym.
And
like,
when he was
I hope you make it. And then once you make it, they're all like jealous of you. Yeah,
they're like, oh, the big guy's finally
look
around.
at that. He's and
it comes
I haven't achieved an insane amount of success, but once you start making a little bit of that coin, people start treating you a little bit differently.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, why don't you blah blah blah, or why don't you do this? But you know what? It's a freaking rite of passage, and I think that it's a good thing. I'd rather be on that side than the other, or like just people back in my hometown were cracking jokes like, oh, why aren't you spending any money on this, you cheap ass, or blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You went out and you made all that money over summer, and then I'm thinking like, yeah, but you guys were sitting here in the hometown working your hourly wage job, and I'm out there scrapping for 4 months. Like, that's the difference,
Call them wages when you work for a wage. Ugh,
There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just you got one caveat.
Everything wrong with it.
Nothing wrong. There's really is nothing wrong. I mean, you need employees to have an employer, but there's only one condition. You can't complain.
Yeah.
If you're not changing shit, you can't complain.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference. People that have financial success, not that that's everything, obviously. People that have financial success might complain to themselves about their situation, be pissed off at themselves about their situation, but people that stay in it complain to other people, and then they find other people that will join them in their little complaining round and their complaining group.
Pity party.
And then they talk about how, I wish I could, oh man, I could never.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Shut up.
Not to sound like a dick, but
Yeah.
it's a freaking cancer.
Oh, and one thing I want to talk about, I felt like really also helped me, or just have a lot of success early on, is like, I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't like failing in front of people. Like, I mean,
oh yeah,
there's a lot of benefit to that, but it's like, man, like, just to give you a story, in 7th grade when I first started wrestling, it was like my 3rd match ever. I lost. It was at our home gym. I was just wrestling JV. I was terrible. And
is this where you? Yeah. I think you told me
and
this.
I got pinned by a girl in 30 seconds. Bawled my eyes out for minutes after. And it's like, dude, that freaking sucked. And so I hate failing in front of other people. But that's really where you grow. And to kind of correlate that to like here and working in the office, like my first day, I kind of put myself in the corner. I was like, okay, I'm just going to figure this out on my own. I don't want anybody else to see what I'm doing because I know I suck at this right now, and I'm just going to figure it out on my own. But I would eventually, like a few days in, I was like, okay, I just, you know what, it's going to suck. Because Austin kind of said it. He was given a little part in Gatlinburg. He was like, man, dude, when I first started, I didn't want to hop on a Zoom with 30 people who are great at this job and just absolutely botch a sale in front of them. Like, that's not fun. But the benefit from that is then they can better help you. So whenever I would hop on a call, then I would unmute myself on our Zoom when we all had our own offices and we were all like kind of spread out, just so people could hear me fail and then they could give me better coaching. And so like nobody likes to
Which
fail.
is like, that's a big ego hit. It's huge ego hit.
And even when you would follow me, I'm like, oh man, dude, just wait till I get a little better. Then you can come over here. But the better you can get that coaching, then that bad stuff doesn't turn into a habit, what you're saying. And then just on-the-spot coaching is incredible.
100%. Well, shit, dude. We got a long way to go, huh?
A long way to go.
We got a long way to go. We got
Still
a lot
waiting
of
on
stuff to work on.
Gonna get that golden diaper.
We got to get that golden diaper. Stay tuned till week 5 of the comp.
Week 5 of the
we're
comp.
I think we're in seeding
round.
Seeding round number 1. I think you're taking the lead at number 1, but we'll see what happens, man.
Yeah.
Just don't drink any weird liquids or anything. Or make
Roy,
sure you keep your eye on your drink this weekend. Yeah,
don't let.
Well, you're not going to be doing that because you're doing 75 hard, but
don't let Roy cook you any brownies because those things are poisoned.
I already shipped them out. But what else could we talk about? How you like in Nashville?
Love Nashville.
Yeah.
Yeah. Haven't got to experience a ton of it yet, just because I've been working, dialed in, trying to, just get on that track. Obviously, I don't want to ever put my foot off the gas pedal, but just focus on a lot of my time and energy on work and,
keeping your head underwater.
Head underwater. I think it's above water. You don't want to keep your head underwater. It means you're drowning.
Depends if you got gills, man.
Yeah.
If you got some gills, you're keeping that head underwater.
But yeah, no, Nashville's awesome.
Nashville is pretty sweet. It's got its pros, lots of pros. It's got its cons. We're still kind of getting out of the winter season and whatnot. I think what's really, and then I'll ask you a couple questions, then we'll get out of here. But what's really fun is Man, you look around the office, dude. 20-something-year-old dudes.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like we named a podcast after it.
Did
20-something-year-old dudes, you know, and women.
And women.
And man, just no huge egos in the office.
Mm-hmm.
No BS. No little slimy stuff going on.
Yeah.
Or, you know, people are getting along. And people will disagree and argue and whatever, and that's comes with the territory. But there's no 55-year-old in here that's telling people, you got to do it this way, you got to do it that way, and that's our system, and that's what we stick to. And if you don't, then this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, honest about. Like, there's everything. Man, this sounds like a plug, doesn't it? There's nothing in here that's there's nothing that somebody couldn't ask and you wouldn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, meaning, like, if you're like, hey, Roy, what's your comp structure? Or how does that person get paid?
Yeah.
Or how much does that person pay for that, or whatever? It's just like, hey, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, there's no, like, I don't know. At least from what I've seen, or there's no like, well, Trace, you know, we're gonna give him this, and then, you know, blah blah. It's like it's a open. It's so far. We got a long way to go though. You got a plan of build an agency, or would you rather like what's your thoughts process on that?
I feel like, kind of like you said in the past, it's like before you can lead people, you got to fully understand it, like, a lot. So I think what I'm trying to say is, like, if I was to start bringing anybody on, I would want to have full confidence that I could answer any question they could have about final expense selling to veterans, that I would 100% know the answer to. And do that consistently for a few months, where, like, hey, if you put in the work before, this is what I did, and it was nothing that crazy. But if you put in the work and you come in every day and try and get a little bit better, and you ask a lot of questions, and you have a good attitude, you have worked the hours, and you build some good habits, like, this is what's possible.
Man, if more people would just do that. The first insurance job I ever got recruited for, I was 18, and the dude that recruited me had never sold a single insurance policy in his life.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm more like the big picture guy.
Yeah.
Like, you're the no picture guy, pal. I'm out. You know.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is I was just asking that just because I was kind of curious. I think you could definitely teach people and use your story as a testimony that it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. You know. But I remember when going from that job, I remember thinking, like, man, well, the next thing that I do or decide to do, I just want the person that tells me about it to have done it and been successful at it.
Yeah.
And then, like, a couple weeks later, get connected with Shane.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I actually had the number one team. And when he told me he sold it and he had sold it for 6 years, I was kind of mind blown. I was like, wow, nice, cool. But you'd think, and now at this point, it's like, well, duh. The person that recruits you should have sold all those different, maybe not, if you're in like 50 different niches and whatever, maybe not every single one of them, but they should have had either some serious success or some very good success.
Yeah, because I wouldn't want somebody giving me advice that's never done what I've done or anything like it, or never had success at it. Like,
and the truth is, dude, you might get to a point to where you're more successful than anybody in the office, and at that point, then it's like you're the one that's going to be teaching them. You know.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot. I don't even think I had a month that good in final expense, or a week that good in final expense. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, we'll
Maybe
see. We'll see what goes into effect and all that, because it's all great, but we'll see. Time will tell. But you know what? Honestly gets me excited is just, like, we're in such an early stage right now, where, dude, like, all the guys in the office are so much fun to hang out with, and we're all so level-headed and motivated, and we all want to be super successful. Is, like, looking back on this moment, like, 5 years, I'm literally getting goosebumps right now. It's going to be so awesome. And when you're talking, like, big picture, our vision, it's literally incredible on, like, how fast you guys have already grown. Like, Austin started this about, like, 2 years ago, and then you and Merritt came on last year around this time, and now there's about 10 of us, and then, like, 10 new people coming on, and it's like, what I was going to say is, like, just getting the relationships we're going to build and just getting to be a part of everybody's life.
Yeah.
And just, like, we're in the prime of our life right now. Like, it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
And, like, we get to go to Keeneland. I'm pretty sure everybody in the office is already, like, locked in to go.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I cannot wait for that trip.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So
much fun, and we're going to make so many memories.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to just even look back to March, or I think my first full month was last March. And I'm like, if like there's an office here and there's an office here, and then I'm in this little corner back here, and we used to make fun because I was like, I'm gonna put some beads up because I could just hear everybody talking. You know, Austin talks so loud. He's like, hey Jim, you know.
I talk pretty loud.
I remember just being like, bro, shut your door. I'm trying to, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, man, it's gonna be weird when there's other people in here that we have to train.
You just gotta have noise canceling.
Yeah, that's true.
The AirPods.
No, but what I'm saying is like when we were sitting there, it's all talk.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, dude. And then once we get really good at this, all we have to do is have a really solid year, and then we're gonna bring people on and teach them how to do it. It's gonna be so much fun. We're gonna build out the office, and then we're gonna have an office here, and then we're gonna have an office here. And we haven't done most of the things that we want to do. 99% of the things we want to do, we haven't done.
Out slowly.
Yeah.
I think it was Jeremy Perkins. He also sold books. He said, maybe it wasn't Jeremy Perkins, but no, it was him on that podcast, the Hard Knocks interview. The guy goes around interviewing millionaires, walks up to him.
Oh, yeah. School of Hard Knocks, yeah.
Yeah, School of Hard Knocks. He's interviewing Jeremy Perkins, and he's like, what's one of the biggest mistakes you see big companies make? And it's starvation from indigestion or something, where you take on too much at once and you can't keep up with how fast you guys are growing.
Mm-hmm.
So like I've only been a part of the company for about a month and a half, 2 months, but I think how Austin started building it out, like he did it, then you guys did it, and now you guys are slowly bringing on more and more people. I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
Where you're not bringing on just like hire 30 people at once. And
see who sticks.
Let's all figure this out together.
Yeah, exactly.
Just having one person who's got really good at the job and built out a system. Like, I'm so thankful Austin and you and Barrett went through the hard times of like finding out which lead source is going to be the best lead source, or like building out the script and all this other stuff. Like, it's just all put in place for me. I just got to go out there and put in the hours to work and get better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't got to think about all that stuff because that's probably not my strong suit.
Or this lead type or that lead type or the one that's like this or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, it's very nice. It's super nice. And then one day you'll build out your own thing, and then you'll have your system and leave your mark in that way, you know?
Yeah. But like right now, I'm not ready for that. But
right now, all you got to do is keep doing what you're doing. Sweet. Well, you've witnessed the 5th episode of the 20-something Sales Podcast with your host, Ronnie, and Trace Severson. Actually, before we go, Trace, what do you think people want to hear, man? Think of your ideal viewer. What do they want to hear from Trace Severson?
So I guess I'll leave it with, I think it's 8 words of advice. It might be 7. I tried to count it in my head, but if you're starting any kind of sales job or telesales or insurance or mortgages or
Get
whatever,
up close to that mic, man.
pick up the phone and start dialing.
You heard it here first. Pick up the phone.
How many words is that?
Pick up the phone and start dialing. 7.
That was good.
Start dialing. 10.
Yeah, 10. Even 10.
And then what would you say is the number one thing for people to not do?
So,
not
okay.
even in sales.
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
talking about anything.
Here, rephrase that and just be like, what's the number one thing you don't want to do when you come into the office?
All right. Cut. Action. Trace, what's the number one thing you don't want to do when you come into the office?
Okay, so hypothetically, like this didn't happen to me. This is just a completely hypothetical situation. Right. So say you're a sales manager. You haven't came into the office yet. You just got contracted. You're ready to come in.
Yep.
And he sits you down in his office, or it's over the phone, and he's like, hey, Trace. He didn't say Trace. This is hypothetical. He's like, everybody in the office is dogs, okay? So it's like everybody in the office, absolute dogs, right?
Yeah.
He's like, so he tells you Trace. No. He didn't say Trace. This is hypothetical again. You got to come into the office. You got to mark your territory. Right. You got to gain some respect. Yep. So, okay. Now you're thinking in your mind. You're like, okay, everybody in the office, they're dogs, right?
Yep.
And he just told me I got to mark my territory.
Yeah.
So what you don't want to do is you don't want to take a piss inside your cubicle the very first day. Some people, that might tick some people off. But, I mean, like, you could, I guess hypothetically, you could see how there's that school of thought.
And you didn't do that, right? You're just talking like hypothetically.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Completely hypothetical. That did not happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean.
When was that, by the way? Early December? Okay, so that's the first thing. What's the second thing?
It It was hypothetical.
Oh, okay, got it. Hypothetically, when was that? Was that today?
No, it was 3 Mondays ago.
Oh, okay.
I got some on Tyler's shoe.
Okay,
I had to buy him new shoes
good. And a golden diaper.
and a golden diaper.
What else?
What were we talking about?
Trace, what's the number one thing you don't want to do when you come into an office?
Like, actually? I thought that was a pretty good
That was
one-liner.
pretty good. That was pretty good. We'll clip that up.
I think, no, you first asked the number one thing you want to do, and then I said, ask me the number thing you don't want to do. Oh, you said the number one thing to not want to do if you were to go do life insurance or something?
I'm trying to think of it. I'm tired, man. It's Friday night.
It's Friday night.
Friday night.
Sunday. Yeah, the number
What?
one.
Well, I don't know if we can get into that yet. That'd be a whole other topic. 4 weeks. 4 weeks. Last 4 weeks. Best week this past week. Did it go linear or was it? You kind of went blah, blah, blah. It was like
On the weeks?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it went like, it was like,
Mm-hmm. And then do you think it's going to keep going up or you think this will be your best week of all time?
Oh, it's going to keep going
A lot of people have been saying this will be your best week ever.
Oh, and also one thing that was helpful is like before I started my lead campaign, you came up to me like that Thursday before Friday, and you're like, "Hey, yeah, man, next week I think you're gonna write 10,000." No, you told me, "Hey, you're gonna write 15,000 next week," and I guess low goal you should shoot for like 10. And like at that point, I maybe wrote like 6,000
on the
through,
old
like,
leads,
3 weeks on old leads.
Yeah.
But you put that in my mind, like 10,000 is still a good week for anybody in the office. Like that's not a bad week.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't set the bar super low. Like you should have high goals.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're going to be striving for those goals. You're not going to hit your goals. I mean, you're not going to hit your goals early on, and it's not going to be easy. Like you should strive for that.
Yeah.
So even though I only finished my first week with 7,000, I was still.
Oh, dude, I already knew because you were in the office early. You were leaving late. Like you were on the phone literally all day. Everybody in the office was talking about how you're constantly working. It's like, duh. You know,
Yeah.
Obviously it's going to happen. And then what will happen is you'll probably have 2 back-to-backs to like 50 and then just skyrocket from there. I think it'll definitely. I think with the track you're on, maybe March, April. I'm thinking March, April.
Yeah.
This month will still be a real good month for you though.
Yeah.
You know, it will be.
And yeah, no, I thought it was pretty cool. Or well, it kind of sucks because I haven't wrote more than 4 apps in one day, but 5 days in a row I got 3.
Hell yeah.
Which is pretty sweet.
That is pretty sweet. A lot of people would wish that they could do that.
Yeah.
But they don't work hard enough.
Don't work hard enough.
Well, anyway, this has been fun. We'll have Trace on part 2 after he hits all these goals. And he's going to be wearing that gold-plated diaper up in this piece.
Yep.
And he'll be living in the most luxury motel in Nashville.
Motel in Nashville.
Living at that Super 8. Yeah. He's going to have 2 rooms.
2 rooms.
7 rooms. 1 room for every night.
1 room for every night. Hey, man. Sounds like the
all
dream.
Right.
Hey, well, Roy, it's been real.
Hey, it's been good.
Fun.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been real fun.
Yeah. Well, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, you've witnessed the 5th episode of the 20-something Sales Podcast with your host, Roy Clancy. Go ahead. And Trace Severson. Good night. Stay creepy, Nashville.
Stay creepy, Nashville.